Greg Branos for the Coach Speak Index. What's up? What's going on? Week 7. And I think every player in the NFL has been forced to pay a fine by now. Players are expressing their First and Second Amendment rights in conjunction with one another. And Big Raj does not like it. Even the bow and arrow celebrations are being outlawed. If any players are watching this, I have a couple solutions, a couple, loopholes maybe, if you will. First, you do the bow and arrow celebration, but it's the world's tiniest bow and arrow. It's like this. It's like that. Just minuscule, microscopic, if you will. Second pitch for a celebration. You catch the ball for huge first down. Crowd's going crazy, and you make a big, exaggerated motion that you're pressing a large red button. Just click. Just like that. And this becomes your new celebration. You're the button guy. Everybody's doing the button celebration. Children have stopped doing the gritty because they're all doing button now. This gesture shows up in every rap video and in every bluegrass video. It's ubiquitous across genres, industries, demographics, continents. And you as a player become obsessed with the button. You don't even care about winning games anymore. You just want to do button celebrations. But you're so motivated to do that your team ends up winning games as a byproduct. And you become one of the all-time greats. They enshrine you into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And when you are giving your speech, you inform the entire world that each one of those buttons was connected to a different gun. How about that? How do you like that, Mr. Commissioner? We long conned you. We got your ass, bro. Okie dokie. It's Thursday. It is October 17th. Big Thursday night game tonight. Sean Payton going back to New Orleans. Taking on Dennis Allen and the Saints. Chris Olave has been ruled out. Rashid Shaheed is out. As soon as Olave was ruled out, I tweeted out something that I like for tonight, which is Bub Means higher than 3 receptions on Underdog Fantasy. Who, wow, look at that. Right there is a little banner for Underdog Fantasy. Because they're my wonderful partners. Love Underdog. Many of you know they were the first to shout out the Coach Speak Index. Appreciate that, Josh and Hayden. And now look what we've become. 50,000 followers on Twitter. Over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. All growing out of that shout out. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate Underdog partnering up with the Coach Speak Index. Really love their product. Obviously, those are the only drafts I did this year. Best Ball Mania. Love them. And I know you either do love them because you're already playing on Underdog Fantasy, or You will love them because you have not yet played on Underdog Fantasy. But good offer for you. If you want to get on there, you can sign up with promo code CoachSpeak, and you can claim a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash, plus a free pick'em. But yeah, like Bud means tonight, I believe that is now at 3.5 receptions for him. But Spencer Rattler targeted him 8 times last week. Also targeted Juwan Johnson, their tight end, a bit there. And some comments this week from the Saints coaching staff lead us to believe that they're a little more comfortable opening things up just a tad more with Spencer Rattler this week now that he has a start under his belt. Okay, before we do clips, go over a few injury coach speak items real quick. On October 11th, 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan said that Jordan Mason had suffered an AC joint sprain to his shoulder and will be considered day-to-day. So that clock is ticking as far as actionable coach speak is concerned. Shanahan has an 80% reliability rating on injury coach speak. Shanahan also said that he is hopeful Jordan Mason will be good for week 7, but no guarantee. Staying in that same NFC West division, Rams head coach Sean McVay said that Cooper Kupp is making good progress with the ankle injury that has kept the receiver out for the past month. McVay stated that there is a possibility he could be ready this week. There's also a possibility that he might not be ready. So a couple of no guarantees there from NFC West coaches. AFC South, Jacksonville Jaguars, their head coach, Doug Peterson, current head coach, maybe by the time this comes out, a couple hours from now, he won't be. He probably will be, but non-zero chance. Peterson said Travis Etienne had a hamstring injury in their first game there in London this past week, and Etienne will be week to week. Peterson has a 50% reliability rating on injury coach speak. And head coach Dennis Allen for the New Orleans Saints said that initially it was kind of a week-to-week injury for Derek Carr. Now I think we're probably getting closer into the day-to-day type of range. And then finally, this last one has to do with injury and also with depth chart. The Minnesota Vikings reacquired Cam Akers from the Texans, and Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell said that it really is a depth move. And okay, this is no longer his quote. Obviously, he's not saying this. There are a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, Cam Akers, they're bringing him in to be the guy because they don't trust Ty Chandler. They hate him. They want to stuff him into a locker at the bottom of the seat." That's not true. They like Ty Chandler. This is about depth. It's a depth move, as O'Connell said. And he said Ty Chandler, Myles Gaskin, and Cam Akers will work behind Aaron Jones when Aaron Jones is healthy. He said Aaron Jones is going to progress throughout the week and hopefully has a chance to go on Sunday. So a lot of hopefullys here, injury-wise. And he said, I like where Ty's at. And obviously, Aaron Jones has been a huge impact to our team. So I expect that to keep going the same way that it's gone. Probably not going to see Aaron Jones this week. And I think we'll see a good deal of Ty Chandler if that is the case. Okay, let's get into it. I hope I'm not infringing on a copyright. That sounds like a very trademarked type phrase. Let's get into it. But you know what? Let's get into it. Starting with quarterbacks. We got one clip here. This is Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin on why he doesn't just name Justin Fields the starter after a 4-2 start for Pittsburgh.
Mike, what hasn't Justin done, or what does he need to do better so you guys are 4-2 to not just name him the starter?
Justin has been really good, and we've been really good at times, but not to be confused with great. Man, this is a competitive league, man. We're trying to position ourselves to be that team. And we got a player with talent who hadn't had an opportunity to play, so we're going to potentially explore those things. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what Justin has done or has not done. Justin has been an asset to us, man. Last week, for example, man, his ability to utilize his legs by design and by ad lib was a significant component of that game. He rushed for 50-plus yards and 2 touchdowns in game. And so we're appreciative of that. We're appreciative of how he's taking care of the ball. But we're just looking at all the people at our disposal the same way that we do at any position. We acquired, Terrell Edmonds a number of weeks back, who we have a history with. And as soon as we got him up to speed and got comfortable, we started considering ways to utilize his talents. That's what you do in this thing. You better have your foot on the gas at all times. You better look to divide the labor up in the most appropriate way based on who's available to you and healthy. And that's just simply what we're going to do.
All right. So much to unpack here, and not just from this clip, because in this same press conference, Mike Tomlin probably fielded a dozen or so questions about Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, this entire QB1 situation. And I put all of those notes into the Coach Speak Index Discord. I'll give you some of them here right now. But just pointing out from that clip, one thing, and we'll talk about it more in a second, but saying Justin Fields has been really good, and we've been really good at times, but not to be confused with great. You may think, this move doesn't make sense. The Steelers are 4-2. Why are they moving away from Justin Fields? Well, you're not just looking to go 9-8 as a team. You're not just looking to slide into the playoffs. You want to go for it all. There's one prize here that's satisfactory. There's one finish that is acceptable, and that's winning the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson has won a Super Bowl. Oh, he's not that same quarterback anymore, Greg. Yeah, I know that. I'm very aware. I think the majority of people are aware. I'm sure Mike Tomlin is aware this is not the same Russell Wilson that won a Super Bowl, but he did win a Super Bowl. And coaches are big on experience and pedigree, that type of thing. Mike Tomlin also, in the offseason, said Russell Wilson has pole position as QB1. Now, if Justin Fields had really just gone out, tore things up, like other retread quarterbacks have done, Baker Mayfield, like he did last year and like he's doing now in Tampa Bay. If Justin Fields was playing up to that kind of level, I don't think we'd be having much of a conversation. But Mike Tomlin, it's not that he was giving himself an out when he said Russell Wilson has pole position as QB1, but it turns out that that's kind of an out for him. Like, I already said Russell Wilson pole position as the starter. He was injured. Now he's healthy. So he has a right to fight for QB1. He has the right to start a game, and we'll see what the offense looks like under Russell Wilson. And then if he looks really, really terrible, Tomlin can just say, okay, well, you had pole position, and we've seen both quarterbacks now, and it's going to be Justin Fields the rest of the way. It's all up to how Russell Wilson plays. And if he is the quarterback that many people are thinking doesn't have it anymore, is completely washed and terrible, then that will probably transpire on the field, right? If he's terrible, then he's not going to come in and be some great quarterback because he's washed, because he's terrible, right? Okay, so how long is the leash then? I feel like it's pretty short. Justin Fields did not play himself into a job. He didn't play so well that it's like, okay, this is the starter. But he didn't play terribly. Like Thomas said, really good. But we're looking for great. We're looking for a Super Bowl. And they don't know exactly what they have in Russell Wilson until they see it out on the field. Okay, I said I'd get to these comments from the Discord. And here we go. Tomlin said he will make the decision closer to game time. And just like we talked about here, Mike Tomlin said, well, he was asked, whoever you play this week, is this who you'll be sticking with? Like, are they entrenched? And Tomlin said, we will not necessarily stick with the guy who starts this week. So really giving himself this out here of Russell Wilson, originally our starter, and he was injured. You can't lose QB1 due to injury, some people say. And give him a shot. And if he looks bad, then we're going to go back to Justin Fields. Running back. This is head coach Doug Peterson. This was before their London game. He was asked whether he sees himself relying on both Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby this year.
Your offense has often had multiple backs excel. Do you see that with Travis and Tank? Maybe get back to that? I do.
Travis is dealing, still working through his injury and all of that. But I think you got to have the two guys in two different styles. Obviously, it's a long season. We're still, in week 6 right here, but both guys have done a great job, and TJ's doing a nice job as well.
And then Travis Etienne picks up a hamstring injury in that London game, and we end up seeing a lot of Dearness Johnson, and then people are saying, oh no, Dearness Johnson got all these snaps over Tank Bigsby. Well, Tank Bigsby's no longer the guy. It's Dearness Johnson now. And I don't think that is the case. I think we need to always look at context when we are viewing these numbers. And the context is that the Jags went down in a really big hole quite quickly in that game, and they don't really trust Tank Bigsby when they are in a heavy passing mode. And we saw some of the reason why that is last year. And they don't quite trust him there. So if you're a Tank Bigsby manager, what you're rooting for is close games or games where the Jaguars have a lead or a big lead, because the games where they are far behind, even when, Travis Etienne is out, it's going to be rougher sledding for Tank Bigsby. As far as Bigsby versus Etienne is concerned, I think that is it's going to be pretty close to 50-50 kind of backfield there. Tank Bigsby looks good this year. Coaching staff all off season talking about how good he looked. And then we saw how good he looked in the preseason. And it's carried over to the regular season, and that is trouble for Travis Etienne, as is his shoulder injury, as is his hamstring injury. Gross for Etienne owners right now. Okay, Carolina Panthers. This is head coach Dave Canales being asked where Jonathan Brooks fits into the backfield once he returns.
On the topic of where he fits, you've got Chuba playing well. Miles is kind of a change of pace guy. Where does Jonathan fit?
We'll have to see that. We'll have to see that come to life and see what he looks like in practice.
We'll have to see that. Dave Canales is shaping up to be sort of a meritocracy depth chart kind of guy. I mean, they cut loose on Bryce Young so quickly. And Chuba Hubbard playing really well. Definitely outplaying Miles Sanders. Outplaying a lot of running backs in the NFL. Then you have the receiver stuff where undrafted free agent Jalen Coker is getting some real time now at receiver, and Xavier Legette is playing a lot now, and Jonathan Mingo's snaps and usage starting to go down a little bit because, well, Jonathan Mingo is not as good as these other guys. So it doesn't matter the draft capital or what we have invested in them. It's who's the best player, who will give our offense the best chance to move the ball, to score. A couple other comments here from October 16th, Wednesday, yesterday. Canales was asked about, when Jonathan Brooks will actually be back, when he'll be activated, not just the practice window being open, but when will he be back on the field? Canales said, when we see the comfortability and confidence to play fast, then we know that he is ready to go. Canales was asked whether it will be a couple weeks before Brooks is ready for a game, and Canales said it's certainly going to be week to week, and we have to be able to see him play comfortably at full speed. So that is goal number 1. And very important to them. They talked in the offseason about he has to be absolutely 100%. We want to see him, making the kinds of cuts that he'll need to make as a running back. Full speed, no hesitation, and no fear of setbacks. And then Jonathan Brooks was asked about the current kind of state of return, and he said, yeah, it's more mental. He feels good physically, and now you got to be able to make that cut without worrying in your mind, oh no, am I about to tear my ACL here? We don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully it's soon. Sounding like maybe week 9-ish, right around there, for Brooks to come back. And then once he does, what is that workload going to look like for him? He's not going to take the backfield over immediately. Chuba Hubbard is playing really well. Like, this could end up being kind of a 50-50 type thing, but it is a good offensive line. And with this whole plan of them bringing Brooks back, we know that when he comes back, it's not like he has to be ramped up or eased in, kind of like the way that the Jets did last season with Breece Hall, where it's like a 4-game ramp up. And okay, well, after that 4th game, now he's at 100%. Now he can be a workhorse. It sounds like they're bringing Brooks back when he's like absolutely 100%. So it shouldn't need like a long ramp up period as far as things are concerned, physically. But then that mental thing, and these are his first games as an NFL player. So getting used to all of that, that's where kind of the easing in, I think, comes into play. By the time fantasy playoffs come around, that is going to be, I mean, we really don't know as of right now. Like, what is that usage? What snap share will he be getting by week 15? He's definitely a better prospect than Chuba Hubbard. I mean, this guy in college, very nice. Panthers have a good offensive line. They like to run the ball. Canales spoke not too long ago on, hey, what is your preference? Would you rather have one guy? Would you rather have 2 guys in the backfield? And he said, hey, there's value to both. When you're using just one running back, you can let him go out there, kind of feel the rhythm of the game and get into a groove. And then with 2, you can have a guy like, okay, this is this guy's drive. And then if he needs a breather, other guy comes in. It could be a really nice backfield with Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks. And maybe it becomes one of those backfields where you can play both guys, like with the Lions, where it won't be quite up to the level of the Lions, where 2 running backs who are basically both RB1s. But it could be a backfield where you could play either of those guys. Okay, Dallas Cowboys. This is head coach Mike McCarthy on Rico Dowdle.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Mike, you talked about wanting to build off of things. Rico Dowdle at his best game in Pittsburgh, and he had just 1 carry in the first quarter when it was still a 7-3 game, finished with 5. Sort of what goes into that, and then.
Oh wow, the 7 on 3rd down is a big part of that, and I think starting off with the first play, just some of the penetration we had here, not clearly not a reflection of him. I actually thought he did play well with his limited touches, but he definitely needs to touch the ball more, without a doubt.
He said that in a very authoritative manner there. Definitely needs to touch the ball more, without a doubt. Dallas has been getting in some weird. They've been playing some weird games, and they've been in some blowouts. Been on the bad side of some blowouts, and it's hard to establish the run. It's hard to use your running back a ton when you just fall in a big hole early. We have seen in recent games where they weren't getting blown out that, they like giving the ball to Rico Dowdle now. It's still a running back by committee. He's not the workhorse there, but, getting 20-plus touches a couple weeks ago. Then you have Mike McCarthy saying that Ezekiel Elliott, he's solid. He's a solid player. And Rico Dowdle is a bowling ball full of butcher knives. So, I expect Rico Dowdle to get some more work here, touch the ball some more. Mike McCarthy has an 80% reliability rating on usage and workload. Coach speak. Okay. Tampa Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a couple clips here from head coach Todd Bowles. We will start with this one on Sean Tucker, who had a really big game in Week 6.
He ran the ball well in the first half, but he didn't run it very much. What can you say about the second half, and especially the job that Sean Tucker did today?
Sean did an excellent job. We had some good runs in the first half. The penalties, we shot ourselves in the foot so much we kept having to throw it. But in the second half, between Sean and Bucky, with Sean filling in especially, he's got a lot of speed. This is the Sean Tucker we thought we'd get when we got him last year, and he's coming into his own.
Sean Tucker, 14 carries for 136 yards and a touchdown. Also 3 receptions for 56 yards and another touchdown. All of my 2023 Sean Tucker best ball shares they were looking down from heaven and nodding and smiling and saying, "Well done. Good job, Sean Tucker." One more clip here from Todd Bowles, and we will talk about the Bucs backfield, because that's what he's being asked about. Is this a three-headed monster? Has Sean Tucker played his way into a menage a running back trois?
Todd, can you speak to the game that Sean Tucker had? I mean, it's one thing to come in, as your third running back on your depth chart. He was elevated to number 2 yesterday with White being out, and give you some meaningful snaps. But I mean, he exploded onto the scene, 7 explosive plays. Is that worthy of him making this kind of a three-headed monster at running back for you guys now?
It's definitely worthy of him making it a three-headed monster. He took advantage of his opportunities. He ran away from some tackles, some linebackers. He ran through the hole. He cut back. He made some great plays. He caught the ball well out of the backfield. So that gives us three-headed monsters.
That gives us three-headed monsters. I love Todd Bowles talking about Sean Tucker. He's just describing what a running back does. He ran away from tacklers. Yes, he did. He did a good job. Listen, Rachaad White is not going away, okay? This Sean Tucker resurgence, it's not good for Rachaad White shares, but it's even worse for Bucky Irving shares. Sean Tucker and Bucky Irving are basically the same running back. They are, both juiced up, fast to and through the hole, like offensive coordinator Liam Cohen likes, and neither of them are good in pass protection. Rachaad White is good in pass protection, and they trust him quite a bit there. And they trust him on passing downs. And we didn't see much pass pro work, or we didn't see much asked from Sean Tucker or Bucky Irving this past week. And that's just Liam Cohen being a smart offensive coordinator, knowing, okay, these are the weaknesses of these players, so we're not going to put them in positions for those weaknesses to be exposed. You saw a lot of the pass pro reps that they were in on. They're not like matched up against a blitzing linebacker. They're just like kind of helping another offensive lineman, or just sort of like running into this glut of people to make sure it stays a glut of people and doesn't kind of like spread out is really kind of interesting. But that's what Rachaad White does. What you can't have him in isolation in the backfield and taking on blitzing linebackers that come back at you. It's going to be messy. It's going to be a three-headed monster. And like I said, bad for everyone. The Sean Tucker resurgence here is definitely worse for Bucky Irving. Yeah. Not really playable in fantasy. None of them really are that playable in fantasy. No, you can't say you're almost relying on an injury, really, is what's happening here. All right, what is next? It's wide receivers. This first one is New England head coach Gerard Mayo talking about Jalen Polk. Certainly, he'll have great things to say about the rookie who was receiving such glowing compliments in the offseason, right?
Hey, Gerard. Just wondering what you've seen from Jalen Polk early this season and maybe what's contributed to some of the struggles he's had early on.
I think he just, he needs to get over this mental hump. You gotta eliminate the drop passes. You gotta be better blocking, which he did a great job in college at that. And at times throughout the season, he just has to continue to grow. He has to work harder. He has to pay more attention to the details. And we fully expect him to grow into a receiver that's dependable on run and pass downs.
That is pretty tough stuff right there from Gerard Mayo. Gotta respect the honesty. At least we know what the problem is here. And it's not some like ambiguous thing. He's telling like this, you gotta focus, man. You gotta focus. You gotta put in the work. Talent is one thing. Effort is another. It's a fixable problem, effort. But not loving what I'm hearing from Mayo on Polk. He also said on October 14th, he was asked about the wide receiver room. He said, this is Mayo, when I look at the film, it's Kayshon Boutte. God, I used to know that one. Kayshon Boutte, I believe. When I look at the film, it's Kayshon Boutte, it's Pop Douglas, it's Kendrick Bourne, and we need the rest of those guys to step up and make plays. So Javon Baker, buried. Jalen Polk, falling out of grace. This was someone who they talked about how much they loved his college tape and how he did all this dirty work. And, it was really kind of reminiscent of Jacoby Myers. All that is not talked about with him anymore. It's negative stuff. So we need him to get it together, man. Because you got a quarterback in there who's much better than what you had and can actually get you the ball downfield. But it's going to be tough for him to do that if you are disappointing your head coach who doesn't maybe want to play you as much anymore now. Not great. What is great, though, is what's happening in Dallas. It's at least great for this one person. Offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer was asked about Jalen Tolbert, and this is what he had to say.
With this extended look that Jalen's getting at the number 2 spot with Brandon out, how do you feel like he's progressing? Conversation with him was the number 3 guy coming into the season, but with this elevated role now.
Yeah, next man up, and I think he's done some really good things. Made a nice 50-50 ball catch the other day against Detroit. Obviously had the game winner against Pittsburgh. The thing that we love about JT is his ability to win at the breaking point. So when you're playing these teams that play match coverage and want to play things man-to-man, your job to create separation is to win at the breaking point. And sometimes it's for different reasons. Sometimes it's your footwork. Sometimes it's being physical. JT's a big, strong, physical guy, plays with that type of demeanor. And so I think he's maximizing the opportunities. We see a young player that's continuing to ascend, and we feel very, very strongly that he's just going to be a very, very good player for a long time in this league.
Yeah, I don't know about very, very good player for a long time in this league. He certainly is getting some opportunities, and he's doing, well enough with them. He's got 15 targets over the past 2 games. Brandon Cooks is out for a while. A guy who practiced or spends the offseason practicing with Dak Prescott. They talk a lot about how much those two practice together in the offseason. I'd like to see a little bit better of a connection if that's the case. He's really just kind of getting this stuff with Cooks out, and as the wide receiver too, maybe he should be getting a little bit more. He's fine enough. He's a fine enough kind of plug in at flex if you need, while Cooks is out at least. Okay. Kansas City. Here's a big one. This is Big Red. Andy Reid talking about Juju Smith-Schuster.
What was just kind of your impression so far, just how much that Juju has kind of been able to kind of pick up where he was, in 2022 when he was with you guys?
Yeah, well, first of all, he's a veteran. He works hard and he's smart. So I think all of those kind of go into that. And Pat has trust in him. So, and we as coaches have trust in him, and we've tried to put him in good positions for his strengths and try to utilize those. And that's, I think all of those things kind of add up to production. But the main thing is he's kept himself in great shape and he's smart. He knows how to play the game.
He said when he got here that he watched last year and saw Rashid doing a lot of the things that he had done the year before. Does that make him just a really good piece to have around when you do lose Rashid?
Yeah, you and I have talked about this, Matt, but the guy opposite Kels ends up being very important. That they know how to play the game and can kind of do similar things that Kels can do, and it's if you can get that, then you've got something going offensively that way. So he did that before. Pringle did that before him. We've had guys in those spots that could do that. So it's that's a positive thing. Anyways, Juju's good with that, and yeah, they are similar things. They're doing similar things.
Doing similar things to Rashee Rice. The guy opposite Travis Kelce ends up being very important, Reed says. Juju Smith-Schuster. PPR scammer. PPR scammer alert. Folks, be on the lookout. Your grandmothers who are playing fantasy football are getting PPR scammed by Juju Smith-Schuster. Will be very, very interesting to see, because the Chiefs just had their bye week, what sort of stuff they come out of the bye week with. Is it going to be Travis Kelce and Juju Smith-Schuster in the short and intermediate areas? You don't have to be a great receiver to catch screens and 2-yard passes from Patrick Mahomes and then follow some blockers down the field. Could be really valuable role for Juju Smith-Schuster if he is occupying that sort of a Rashee Rice role. Obviously, he doesn't have the talent of Rashee Rice. We all know that. But could be very productive in PPR formats here. And I will be curious to see what kind of usage we get from Xavier Worthy coming out of the bye now. Will he get any of that stuff? Is he just going to be wind sprints for the season and then get some bombs here and there? Or are they going to, use them on some, drag routes and some of these screens, get some more of the handoffs that he scored a touchdown on in the season opener? Very curious, very curious. One more clip, and then we have a few questions. Really interesting questions. A little mini mailbag. This last clip is interim head coach of the New York Jets, Jeff Ulbrich, talking about Garrett Wilson.
As a coach, what made Garrett so potentially dominant and challenging in the slot when he lines up inside like that?
Well, his movement is absolutely ridiculous. Like it doesn't make sense. The way that he can change direction, come out of breaks, the way that he can set you up. He's like an and-one basketball player in there. Like he's virtually an impossible cover, in my opinion, in one-on-one. He's a problem. And now he's starting to get way more detail into everything that he's doing, learning the nuance of this game, and then his relationship with Aaron is going to a deeper level, just more time on task together. So it's really cool to see him growing and evolving as a football player. And as long as we see that, we're just going to see this guy just blossom into the superstar we know he can become.
What will become of Garrett Wilson now that they have Davante Adams there on the Jets? Well, Davante Adams there does open things up a little bit for Garrett Wilson. That's good. But, and the offense should be a little more efficient than they have been now. So those are two good points. But the volume is going to go down. And to me, the one really, really, really big drawback for Garrett Wilson in this Davante Adams deal is the just otherworldly mind meld connection that Aaron Rodgers had with Davante Adams, especially in the red zone. So once they get down near the goal line, and we all know Aaron Rodgers loves to pad his stats and throw the ball near the goal line, and those little slants and fades and all that stuff he used to do with Davante Adams that was completely unguardable for teams. I think we're going to see that again here in New York. And Garrett Wilson not going to get as many of those red zone looks. So he falls at least a tier. He's not in that top tier of receivers for sure. If we were drafting right now, what would Garrett Wilson be? An early? No, I think early third's too late. Maybe a late second round pick. Yeah. Okay. We will end it with a little mailbag. A few questions. First, Asproscupidi at Asproscupidi on Twitter asks, thoughts on Audric Estime, the Broncos rookie running back. Spent some time on IR, just came back. And the Broncos are, well, okay, so first of all, there's a big headline this week that was Sean Payton, quote, I want to see Estime. And that's a nice headline. Little clickbaity without the full context of what he said. He was asked about offensive rookies playing and contributing, and Peyton said, we got to see those guys. We're a young team, and I want to see this runner as well. I want to see Estime, and we're going to see Vele, and we're going to see Franklin. We're not waiting to redshirt these guys. And so we'll continue to see each week their involvement in that plan and how they fit. Okay. Then, another quote. Peyton says, working with two backs and feeding two backs is easy and kind of what I'm used to and what a lot of teams do. I think it's hard with three, but we did want to get Audric Estime some work and get him some reps. Obviously, we would have liked more had we had more snaps. That was about this most recent game. So what Sean Payton is saying there is that he's fine with the ratio of snaps that he played Audric Estime. He wanted to get more touches for Estime, but only under the circumstances of them having more offensive snaps. So it's not quite, we got to jam this guy in there and see what we have. It's, I would like to see what we have with him at some point this season. And, you know, ideally, I would like us to have an average amount of offensive snaps in a game. And, you know, that'll give us the opportunity. More offensive snaps means more opportunities for plays and touches and that sort of thing. So I don't... many people think, here comes Audric Estime. I'm not so sure that is going to happen. Already had a really bad fumble. Javonte Williams has had some as well. Jaleel McLaughlin has fumbled as well. All of these guys in the backfield have fumbled. We'll see. It's a we'll see situation. I expect Javonte Williams just keeps being the guy there. This is a bad offense, and I'm going to talk about it some more in a second here because there is another question that is kind of related. Here it is. This is from Soch Benia on Twitter, who asks, what's your perspective on the inevitable split between Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy Jr. and the Giants' run game decline with the Andrew Thomas injury? And then another question, is it better to hitch your wagon to someone who's more likely to take over a higher volume role like Audric Estime or Kamani Vidal over Tyrone Tracy Jr.? Starting with the Devin Singletary, backfield split and the run game. Yeah, the Andrew Thomas injury absolutely stings. It's brutal. He's their rock at left tackle. He's their best offensive lineman there. So that stinks. Not loving that. Okay. As far as the inevitable split, I'm not sure it's inevitable. Brian Daboll likes Devin Singletary quite a bit. Had him in Buffalo. Wanted to bring him here to New York. There are, I think it was a beat writer tweeted out that he believes that Tyrone Tracy is going to be the lead back here now. I would like that. I have a lot of Tyrone Tracy in Best Ball Mania. I'm not sure that's going to be the case here. Devin Singletary is a fine running back. Like, he's an above average running back, and he's good enough for what the Giants do. Tyrone Tracy, yes, more exciting. He's got some more juice. Obviously, we know his background as a receiver, and that's where he's doing, in PPR leagues, just doing real damage, catching all these balls. And on a team that will probably trail quite a bit, be in catch-up mode, the fact that Tyrone Tracy is a 3-down back, man, that's really good for him. But it's going to be messy with Singletary healthy. I'm not sure Tyrone Tracy can grab a large enough share of this backfield to be a weekly play in the flex. It'd be nice if he became their 2-minute drill guy, their guy when they're down 3 touchdowns and in the fourth quarter is getting all the action. But Singletary, decent enough receiver in his own right, 3-down back. Brian Dable, has stated that. Not super clean, in my opinion. As for whether I'd rather hitch my wagon to Audric Estime or Kamani Vidal over Tyrone Tracy, I'm not taking Audric Estime over Tracy. The Broncos have struggled on the ground all year, and you can theorize that, well, it's Javonte Williams' fault or Jaleel McLaughlin's fault, whatever. But I think the reality is that this is just a bad environment for running backs this season. Defenses are stacking the box against the run because they don't respect Bo Nix as a passer. And I'm not sure that ends up changing this year. Tyrone Tracy versus Kamani Vidal is interesting because Gus Edwards is a brick of charcoal slathered in molasses. He's on injured reserve for at least 3 more games. Hassan Haskins was outsnapped 19-3 by Kamani Vidal in Vidal's very first game. In the post-game press conference, head coach Jim Harbaugh gave this quote about Kamani Vidal. "We're going to be able to trust him a lot more now. He continues to be able to protect the ball, make the play, and then protection." The only obstacle for Kamani Vidal now is J.K. Dobbins. While Dobbins is healthy, he's likely going to be a workhorse in this backfield. My question is, how long can J.K. Dobbins stay healthy, getting 25 touches a game? I don't think that's going to hold up. And I know several of the injury experts feel the same way. If Dobbins goes down, Kamani Vidal very likely becomes a workhorse for the Chargers. He handled that kind of load in college. He is a very sturdy back. Now, all that being said, if I'm picking between Tyrone Tracy and Kamani Vidal right now, I'm picking Tracy. Both of these guys are one injury away from becoming a workhorse, but Tracy has more standalone value in a healthy backfield, and maybe he earns enough of a share to be a weekly flex play even when Devin Singletary is healthy. One more question here. This is from Todd Hoffman on Twitter, who inquired, have you tried using language learning models to help assess what a coach is saying after they have said it. I have experimented with AI and language learning models, and it does a good job of kind of getting you into the ballpark, right? But the problem is that it lacks nuance, and that is very key in coach speak, which at times is, more art than science sometimes. Yeah, the most important thing to me, because the language learning models, we're trying to get to the bottom here, like what's the intention. This is why in the database I include very thorough quotes, and when I post stuff in the Discord, I like to put thorough quotes. When I post stuff on Twitter, I like to put thorough quotes. So in the future, I can go back and look, hey, look at this exact phrasing. Look for a lot of language matches. Look at this phrasing, all the times that a coach has used this specific phrase. And this is one of the things that helped me decode Pete Carroll's coach speak, his injury coach speak, is, when he would say, oh, this player has a good chance of suiting up, they were less than 50% to suit up. When he said this player has a really good chance of suiting up, we saw that in above 70%. So big difference there, and that's the nuance that I'm kind of, or some of the nuance that I'm referring to when it comes to coach speak. So AI a little more helpful with kind of workflow stuff than actually, translating or analyzing the coach speak. But maybe in the future, as these things get better, and pretty exciting to see where all the AI stuff is headed. I dated a girl a couple of years ago who's like the queen of AI now, and we've had conversations about AI for Coach Speak Index. Really, really fascinating stuff. So I'm definitely not anti-AI. I have, I've experimented with it. I've used it a little bit for Coach Speak Index just to see, because I'm always looking to improve this. Like, what can I do to make this even better? So obviously AI, want to take a look at that. And like I said, more helpful with workflow. But as for the nuanced stuff, man, we want as many quotes as possible from these. We're not just looking at the most recent kind of quote. It's okay, we're looking at the recent quote, and then where does that fit in to the history of how this coach talks about players, and do we have language matches on this phrase and that kind of stuff. I hope that answered the question. That does it for this week's show. Check us out on Twitter at Coach Speak Index. And we have the Discord, of course, nearing almost 500 members in there. Super, super valuable. Literally just got a DM from, I'm not going to name him, but a very respected person in the industry who just said, your nuggets in the Discord are awesome, by the way, super valuable. And that is very kind. Super valuable, guys, super valuable stuff in the Discord. If you're playing for fantasy football for respect, money, whatever, if you're betting, like it's insane. It's crazy to not be in the Discord. And I can say that because I can back it up. Okay. I'm not going to say something that I can't back. It'd be very embarrassing for me to be like, you got to get in the Discord. You got to get in the Discord. Then you get in the Discord and then, oh no, not for me. No, it's a no. And then, a bunch of cancellations, whatever. People get in the Discord, they stay in there. People are shouting it out. it's such valuable information. It's crazy. Anyway, guys, get in there. Get it. It's so valuable. Okay, I'm exhausted talking about how valuable it is. Enough. That does it. Like, subscribe. Gotta subscribe. You gotta do it. You gotta do it, folks. And that's it. That's it. Enjoy Saints Broncos. Thank you, Roger. Beautiful. We love it. We love it. We love the slop. Sarah, take us out.